Oh, you good boy. Oh, you good boy. Oh, you good boy. Oh, you good boy. So this good boy here is of course my Sunika Kubrow, and that's what the video is going to be focused on, of course. Many people tell me, and I've had a high rank person on Warframe before, he said why even use companions? He said there's no point in it. The only thing it does is slow down your gameplay. You have to revive them all the time, or if you use a sentinels, they're just dead all the time. Yeah, probably because you're not building it right. So, but then I also get a lot of people who, they obviously feel that companions should be used because they should. They are literally a part of your loadout and can be a key part of some builds if you really want them to be. But this is my Kubrow that I use on basically any build, or I can use on any build. He is a life leech. He has a fair amount of health, armor. He does a crap ton amount of damage, except from at the minute because I haven't been stroking him enough, which is kind of sad, but oh well. Still, he does a very hefty amount of damage, so let's have a quick look at what my Kubrow build is. So if we go onto here, go across to companions, so you can see I'm using the Sunika Kubrow, because the Sunika Kubrow doesn't really have the best abilities, but it has the best damage. So if we actually go onto the loadout screen and go onto the mod screen for the Kubrow, you can see the stats on the side are pretty decent. 300 armor, of course health and armor changes depending on which Warframe you have, so if I have an Aros, which I will show you very shortly, this Kubrow has like 13,000 health, something like that. You can see the critical chance is decent with a very high multiplier and a pretty high amount of damage, even though this damage is reduced because, again, I haven't been giving him enough attention, so he doesn't like me at the minute, lol, which is unfortunate. Status chance is fairly low. If that was higher, it would be very deadly because a lot of slash and viral procs, but this build is mainly to keep your Kubrow alive and to always make use of primed animal instinct and fetch, and of course the life leech abilities and whatnot. So I can actually put that one on there. The build is, let's take a look. So you want link health and you want link armor. So essentially what this does is for how much health and armor your Warframe has, it will kind of link it. So the more health or armor your Warframe has, the more health and armor your Kubrow will get too. So 2,000 health, so 165%. Your Kubrow will start with like a base health, and then depending on what your Warframe's health is, it will add that to your Kubrow times 1.65. So that will leave this Kubrow with 2,000 health. And then it's the same with the armor too, so we'll start with a base armor, and then it will add your Warframe's armor. And then there's some mandatory mods, in my opinion, for all companions. You should be running these on all companions because they are simply so strong, and I'll explain why. Primed Animal Instinct. When I'm playing Warframe, I am hardly ever actually looking at where I'm going. I'm always looking at my radar because of enemy radar, and then if I want to loot any containers for maybe a sabotage or because I need some materials on like a survival or something, then loot radar is obviously going to show you where stuff is. And then, yeah, so enemy radar, one of the fastest way to kill enemies on this game is to actually know where they're coming from and know where to focus your powers. For example, like Protea, which is one of my last videos, I have enemy radar on her, of course, just from my companion, because if I throw my first ability, my shrapnel grenades, onto like a doorway, because I know they're coming from there, the enemies can't come from there because they will die. So knowing exactly where enemies are coming from is very useful. And also, for like example Siren, when you're going to cast a fourth ability to try and basically wipe the whole map, to actually know there's a lot of enemies around you that you can cast that ability. Yeah, I mean, normal Animal Instinct is pretty good, which you can get from Nightmare missions, I believe, but Primed Animal Instinct from Barrow is very good because it's just a massive upgrade. And then of course you want Fetch because this makes it so that you can pick up more materials within a wider area around you instead of having to actually run onto each material to pick it up manually. Basically you can just run through missions and this basically guarantees that you don't really miss as many drops as you normally would. So that you haven't got to focus on picking up anything. Like when you're running through a mission, you can just pick it up by running within like a decent proximity of any item on the floor. And then the other main things that make this build are Hunter Recovery and Prime Pack Leader. So Prime Pack Leader, this makes it so if you hit an enemy with your melee, your Kubrow will get, basically with a really decent melee, like any decent mid to end game melee, if you hit an enemy once, your Kubrow will get all of its health back. You can use this on Kavats too. But then this Hunter Recovery works the opposite way. So if your Kubrow gets any damage dealt to an enemy, then it will actually regenerate your health. So you and your Kubrow constantly regenerate each other's like health and whatever with these two mods. These two mods are fairly easy to pick up at the start of the game too. So if you're struggling. Right now, I'm Master Rank 6 on PC and already have these two mods. Hunter Recovery you actually get from Plains of Eidolon by doing some bounties, but you can also buy it off of other players for really cheap. So even with your starting platinum, you can buy this for like 5 platinum at the very most. This is obviously very good for just keeping yourself alive, even late game, because you and your Kubrow aren't going to be dying at all with these two mods, as long as you're both doing a decent job. The other two mandatory mods for doing at least a decent amount of damage to your Kubrow is Maul, which increases melee damage. Now, even though this looks like a very simple mod, it's actually quite hard to come by. It drops from Kubrodon dens. Not Kubrodon dens, sorry. Like wild Kubrow dens on Earth. But it doesn't drop very often at all. Even throughout my whole time of playing Warframe. I've only ever got this from buying it from another player, even though I've got like nearly 6,000 hours in the game, which is kind of crazy. And then you've got Bite, which drops from Nightmare missions. That increases critical chance and damage of your Kubrow by a lot. So if you want to do a decent amount of damage with your Kubrow, you're kind of going to need this mod too, just so you can actually make use of critical hit chance and damage. And then also, I've got Frost Jaw and Venom Teeth, which are 60-60 Toxin and Cold mods. So even with a status chance, you see my status chance is still pretty shite, to be honest. But yeah, that's where I get the pretty decent damage numbers from. This will be like doubled when my Kubrow actually likes me again, so you can imagine how much damage I actually get out of this, but for now, it's kind of whatever. So this is the build that you want for, like, this is probably the most basic, really decent endgame Sunika Kubrow build I have come up with. I've been tweaking at this for a while. My whole idea of this was actually because I never really focused on my companion either, my Kubrow, so this is an 8-former build if you want to go for the primed mods, so just be aware of that. But yeah, this is like, in my opinion, like the ultimate like build for endgame when it actually comes to Kubrows. So you can actually keep this on any build and it will basically keep you healed up, and you can keep your own Sunika Kubrow healed up too. I don't really go for the mods that actually come along with the Sunika Kubrow because grappling a VIP target is only useful in one mission, a capture. And Savagery would be quite nice, but I don't really need it too much, and I can't really fit it on without sacrificing one of these awesome mods that are already on here, so I don't really think it's viable. So, yeah. There we go. So, with Zaku and my Sunika Kubrow quickly, we're going to test this little build quickly, just to try and show off what the Kubrow can do, so... Also, I'm going to be making another a video on Zaku soon, because after his rework, which finally dropped on Xbox like 1 or 2 weeks ago, he is extremely overpowered. Like, I would go as far as saying he's maybe a bit overpowered, to be fair. So, okay, so we're going to run in there and we're going to start just meleeing enemies to try and get loads of health back. I'm going to be using my operator, of course, to try and keep my health topped up. And if you are not running around with your operator normally, then like dashing place and taking use of it, then you're not really using it right. So this is just a really strong melee I'm using at the minute. my Kubrow is focusing on one person. As you can see, every time he's getting a hit, my health is going up a decent amount. Every time I'm getting hits, his health's going up too. So as you can see at the minute, we're both not really dying. I'm not using any abilities whatsoever, just going against these very high level gunners. Just slapping them with a melee. Making sure that me and my Kubrow don't die. And that's basically the gist of it, honestly. Now I need my Kubrow to get a couple of hits here because I'm taking a lot of damage. Which I think is coming to do, yep, there we go. Yep, still meleeing all the enemies. Not me or my Kubrow have gone down yet, which is good. I've got no kind of lifesteal or anything on this melee. I can show you when I actually finish killing everything. Just to show you and make sure. A couple more guys over here. See? I'll start to lose health, but my Kubrow came in, started damaging something, and there we go. You can basically just get out of the way, avoid something, and your Kubrow will go to attack it. And then we finally died. So that was me just meleeing with my... that was me just meleeing without using any other kind of abilities or anything to actually assist me. And my Kubrow was keeping me alive for all that time. My Kubrow did not die once. In fact, believe it or not, I actually died before my Kubrow. So yeah, I think that kind of proved the point of how good the Kubrow is. He lasted longer than me. That's annoying. And at the same time, he was making sure that I was getting all my resources and actually picking everything up at the same time with fetch. So yeah, let me just show you this. That was the wrong weapon. Let me go on to the shield deck. You can see that condition overload. So nothing to actually, no mods to actually get any life back there. So I'm actually going to show you my Inaros build now because this is my ultimate build to actually synergize with my Kubrow. So if we go to my Kubrow now, look at that health, 12,000. 12,000 health and 978 armor, which basically makes it so from each bullet my Kubrow actually only takes like a quarter damage from that whole bullet, on top of having 12,000 health, which is pretty good. So I think we kind of know how this is going to go. I'm using a Inaros. I've got 7,000 health. I'm not going to show you the build. Can do that in a different video. You know, of course, bleaching videos, awesome. But yeah, this is gonna be a bit obvious. I'm also gonna use the Stropher on this one because I can just shoot enemies and, well, you'll see my Kubrow will get all his health back. So of course I'm not gonna die here. I'm using an arrows for God's sakes, and then I'm just gonna let my Kubrow do his thing. You'll see it's starting to take a decent amount of damage, but not that much damage honestly. If I shoot one shot, there we go, his health's back. So let's just leave the Kubrow to do his thing for a while. He's just gonna go ham. Is doing an okay amount. I mean, this Kubrow is not gonna kill everything. There's absolutely no way. He doesn't do enough damage to actually kill anything. With this build though, I'll show you how much damage I can actually do just because of Ogress. Yeah, the Ogress and the Stropher together are a wonderful piece of equipment. It's absolutely fantastic. Of course, the Ogress is just stripping so much armor because of all that fire. And my Kubrow is not dying. Of course, I'm not going to die because Inaros is tanky as all hell. But if you add the Kubrow to that constantly gets your health back anyway, then you're not going to die even more? I don't think that's the right thing to say, but you're basically invincible. So let's see what the Kubrow does against this one guy. It's getting there. It's damaging. Okay. I'm interested to pit the Kubrow up against just a ridiculous amount of butchers. So let's try it. Butchers, why not? Let's clear all enemies. We'll go to, I don't know, Grineer. Yeah, stuff it. That's fine. Let's see how the Kubrow does against these guys. These guys actually do a decent amount. Yeah, okay, so against trivial enemies like this, the Kubrow will pretty much one-shot them. If it gets a critical hit. If it gets a critical hit, you'll basically one-shot them. So I'm not actually doing any damage here. Against tanky enemies like gunners and bombards, the Kubrow is not going to do a decent amount of damage, but yeah. Against weaker minions, or ads, or whatever, the Kubrow will do okay. So if I just stand here, let the Kubrow do its thing. There we go. Yeah, he's going for it. Now, I'm not taking much damage and I'm constantly regenerating health because I also have Arcane Grace on my Inaros. If you don't use Arcane Grace on Inaros, then you're kind of missing out because every time you take damage, you've got a chance to regenerate health, which is good because when you're taking damage, you want your health back. So yeah, all 20 butchers dead. You know, not in the fastest time, but whilst you're running around killing everything else, your Kubrow might take a few people out too. You can imagine on normal star chart missions against level 40s, the Kubrow is pretty strong. Yeah. So I don't think we've got to really show this off in a normal mission because I think we've kind of proved everything here off here. The only annoying thing is that, for example, in like an arbitration, you've got to make sure you constantly are finding ways to get your Kubrow's health back. Otherwise, if it dies once, it's dead, which is irritating. But that's the same with everything else. The arbitrations for companions is not. It's a bit rough because if they die once, they're dead. That's it. But yeah, it's whatever. So this Kubrow can definitely carry you through most things in the game for sure. So let's go and take another look again, and then we shall end the video on this note. I'm going to go and edit this video now, and then I'm going to be streaming, so if you want to catch me on Twitch or YouTube, then you can do that. I appreciate the love of the last couple of videos. A lot of dislikes, which, you know, whatever. It's still more interaction from the actual community, so it's all good. Unfortunately, nobody's told me why they dislike the video, but it's fine. Still got a decent amount of views, so it's pretty good. I do appreciate it. And I hope you can try this build out yourself and let me know how it goes in the comments if you don't mind. And I shall catch you later.